Hello, hello. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Breaking Chains. It is Christine Jewell, and today I'm joined by a woman who I respect and have admired for years. I had the pleasure of working with her as a mentor. She had mentored me. I've been in multiple programs of hers and just watched her journey as well. And she is full of wisdom and gold that we're going to drop today on leadership and business growth and all the things leading your business from faith. So I'm joined today by Kelly Roach. Kelly is an 8-figure entrepreneur and she empowers thousands of people around the globe to achieve financial and lifestyle freedom through entrepreneurship. She's also a multi-international best-selling author, which we're going to talk about one of her recent audiobooks today, top 20 podcast host and a philanthropist. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so
Yay.
happy our paths meet again in a new way. It's an honor to be here,
Yes,
Christine.
it's so good. It's so good. I'm so excited about all the things we're going to talk about, but I'm going to start right out the gate. Breaking Chains is the name of this show. We're talking about breaking free of just outdated, old systems, ways of doing things that are no longer working, that are really keeping us enslaved. And if I was to ask you just the seat that you're in today, what would you say is the main thing that you have had to break free from to really step into this new version of business that you're leading and teams that you're leading and just life like that you're living, which is you've done it. So
Yeah. I mean, this is what I'll say, Christine, and I've been sharing a lot about this lately. I think that to live a truly peaceful and prosperous and happy life, you have to decide that you're going to be counterculture in every way. And what I've been sharing with entrepreneurs everywhere is that every decision that you make that is counter to societal norms and culture is going to bring you more peace, more happiness, more fulfillment, and more growth. And for me, obviously, I've built successful companies. I've had a lot of success in a secular sense, and definitely at a place in my life where I feel like the calling on my life is to really bring the focus on the family unit and faith back into the front and the center of everything that we do. And I think there's a lot of pressure, obviously, for entrepreneurs to chase the things that are perceived as accomplishments in the secular world. And I'm really trying to take my life and my family in a different direction, but also breed a new era of leaders that are in pursuit of something very different as well. So I think freedom and peace is in simplicity and less many times, not complexity and more.
yes.
And I think that's very different than the message that we're sold all day, every
Yes.
single day. And so learning to think for yourself and learning to be a discerning person. One of the things in my faith life that made such a difference for me was reading the book Discerning the Will of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that impacted me in such a deep and meaningful way because I read that book because I felt like I needed to learn a new skill of getting quiet enough
Yes.
to have that connection in my daily life because I'm a get it done girl,
I know.
right? And faith has always been a part of my life, but I wanted to become a different type of leader to serve others in a different way. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I was going to have to grow substantially to do that. So that might have been a long answer to your question, but hopefully that gives a couple pieces of food for thought.
No, it's good. There's so much in there. And it's the same thing, of just even as I've seen people just kind of grasping and holding on to the business that
Yep.
they built or the systems that they
Yep.
built are still chasing the same things. And it's like everything's dying off. Things aren't working. The cash flow stops. The relationships are
Yeah.
struggling. I'm like, what are some of the things that you've seen or maybe you experienced kind of like that were major red flags? Like something's got to change. Or did you have that experience? Did you just know, like something's got to change, or were you experiencing some of those same things? Like,
No, I mean, I went through a lot of challenges that all people do once you've
mm-hmm.
built something the size that I've built. And in particular, a lawsuit where a major media corporation sued me personally and my company for using the word entrepreneur. And I mean, they went really, really hard, and they
Yeah,
said, we're going
yeah,
to take you down and we're going to take you out of business or we're going to get you to do what we want you to do. And that went on for almost 2 years. And, that was while, managing a massive company and a very large team and a whole host of people that needed a lot from me and business partners and all of these things. And the only thing that got me through that was my faith. And
Yes.
faith wasn't new to me during that time. But it took me to a level where I needed to rely on my faith more than other times in my life, Christine, because
Yes.
I couldn't outwork anything that was happening. There was nothing I could work harder to do anything about. My default is like, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll work hard. I will take responsibility. And it was a situation where only God could get me through that.
Yeah.
And for me, up until that point, my faith life, I had always kept very separate from my business life, not in the way that I ran my business, in
Mm-hmm.
how I used my voice, in what I spoke about, in what I taught about, in the way that I led publicly. It was like I have my private life and I have
Mm-hmm.
my public life,
Yeah.
right? And after that, I made a commitment and a decision that I would not teach business anymore without reflecting and glorifying God in everything that I was doing. And I just started making like a lot of changes in my business and my life, not because I became a person of faith, but because I realized that God carried me through that situation in
Yes.
that way, specifically to get me to make that sharp right turn,
Yeah.
to put him at the forefront and say, Kelly, you have a voice, you have a platform, you have a podium. What are you doing with it? The
Yeah.
heck are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
It's not enough to go sit in church or
Yeah.
to pray in your home where no one sees and no one knows. You have to call people forward to also make this a part of their daily lives. So that was a big thing for me.
So good. So good. I can think of so many people that are just going in. I released a podcast today on the crushing, being in the seasons where you're in that legal battle. I mean, I've heard that from people, or something's going on,
Yeah.
it's like a mass exodus. People are leaving your company or whatever. And,
Oh, you have no
it's,
idea. I mean, if I told you what happened during that time and I saw the ugliest version of humans that you could ever imagine, I was so naive, Christine. I had no idea what people are capable of. And from team members to business
yeah.
partners to colleagues to friends, I mean, all of it. And so you're left vulnerable with nothing because it's
Yeah.
not something that you can control or do anything
Yeah.
about. You just have to keep moving through it. But every situation like that you go through, God is molding and maturing you, right?
Yes.
So God
Yes.
was molding me and maturing me and saying, no, I have something so much
So
bigger and
much
better
bigger.
planned for you over here, but I just needed you to become the person that was ready to step into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you said about just like, you can't out hustle that. You can't
No,
outwork that
there,
moment. It's the holy fire of refinement where he's like,
yeah,
I'm just going to, burn off anything that's not going to
yeah,
be pure for the next season, and really just embolden you. New voice,
yeah,
new heart for things, new heart for
yeah,
things. I see you
yeah.
still have a heart for business and leadership, which is amazing. And I think that's what often I hear is like, well, if I don't stay focused on the business, like I'm going to lose my drive, right? If I start
Yeah,
surrendering and I start letting go, well, like I'm going to lose my ambition. I'm going to lose my drive. It's like,
not at all. Like I think that what and a book I recommend for everyone listening to the show is Anointed for Business, because it
it's a
talks
great
so
book.
much about how what we actually need in the world from a faith perspective is people that are in the marketplace, that are doing all the things that they're doing, that are then spreading the word and are then touching and reaching so many more people, right? So I think about it like from this standpoint, Christine, I can go sit in a church and there might be a few hundred people there.
Yeah.
I can talk about God on my business podcast and tens of thousands of people are
Correct.
going to hear
Yeah.
that word, right? So you're not going to lose focus on your business. And listen, God calls us to do good work, and all good things are from and through God, right? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
And work is biblical, right?
Absolutely.
Work is
Work
biblical.
is biblical.
And it's not about what your profession is, it's who you're being and what you're doing inside of how you're doing your profession, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you need to go and become a minister, or that you need to go and
Mm-hmm.
become a missionary or whatever, although that's the calling for some people.
Yeah.
We need everyday people out in the world doing every single job under the sun, that are believers, that are sharing their faith, that just by who they're being and how they're
Yeah.
interacting with the world are inspiring culture to begin to put the pieces back together
Yes.
again. And we can all create meaningful change in that way.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I agree. I agree. Mark and I are on that same mission to
Yeah.
just disrupt corporate America and be lighthouses. Like,
Yeah.
really, I think that's what you're talking about is just go
Yeah.
out there and be a lighthouse that
Yeah.
brings light. We don't have to be hitting people over the head with the Bible. We can just be,
No.
they're Christ centered principles. We're leading with love. We're leading with faith. We're just,
Yeah.
we're living it out and we're walking the walk instead of just talking about it over here. And I love
That's
that you
it.
said, don't compartmentalize. It's like, it's not over here. And you're almost
Yeah.
like living a double life at that point.
Yeah.
And it feels
Yeah.
like, right? Because you're just like,
Yes.
I've got one foot in this world and one foot in the other. And you feel almost like fragmented in a way, right? Just
Yes.
like you must feel
Yes.
so much more whole now, like
Oh,
complete.
I do. Yeah, I really, really do. And I think that, whatever it is that you're trying to do through your business, whatever good you're trying to do through your business, I think that that will just be amplified 1,000 times when you bring faith into the center of it. Because when I look at, the challenges that people are facing and what's going on in the world and the things that are,
Gosh.
people are dealing with, they need hope,
Yeah.
and hope comes from faith, right? Faith is what inspires, it's what recovers, it's what rebuilds. And I just think our society has done a really good job of convincing people that they don't need that, and
Yeah.
that's why there's so much despair. So we were told, don't talk about, religion, don't talk about politics, don't talk about all of these things. And, so many of us did keep that separate for so long. And what a gift you're robbing people of.
Yeah.
There are so many people that I was very blessed that my parents introduced me to faith and God and prayer from birth,
Yeah.
right? So that was a gift that my parents gave me. A lot of people didn't, they never got that gift. they
Yeah.
they were never given that gift. So all of us have an opportunity to give that gift to other people in what we do and how we do it. And it doesn't, I think a lot of people, that's intimidating because they're like, I don't want to preach at people, I don't want to try and convince
Correct.
people, I don't want to be like telling
Hmm.
people what to do. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
Just by someone seeing that you do business in a really ethical way and then finding out that you're a Christian, that's enough.
Yeah.
Just by them knowing that you are a practicing believer and that the reason why they see you operating this way in your business is because of who
Yeah.
you believe in and how you what is the operating manual for your life, that in and of itself will inspire change and
Totally.
will get people to question things. And it's like little things swing huge doors.
Mhm. Mhm. It just creates such a magnetism. People are going, "What is up with you?
Yeah.
Why do you guys have that kind of marriage? Like, how do you have this love?
Yeah.
How do you sleep at night when this is going on?" And they start leaning in and
Yeah.
asking questions, and it's like that door's open and now they're hungry, they're open, they're seeking.
Yeah.
And we have found too, like, it is incredible the amount of people who are starving for it and seeking it. And I feel like this is
Yes.
the Isaiah 60 is what comes to mind as arise and shine, for the glory and the radiance of the Lord is upon you. So like go out into the nations. Nations will come to you. It's
Yeah.
like people need that light. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
that made me
I,
think of that.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I
And I
love
think,
it.
I think for challenging seasons, whatever you want to go out in the world to do, it's like it gives you that rocket fuel, and
Yeah.
it's an endless well, it's an infinite well. And it's like the more that you spend time in that space, the more that you become a person that understands how to tap into that, right?
Yeah. I think we kind of answered this a little bit, but obviously you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. We do too, but we also have a lot of people that are just in the corporate
Yeah.
structure of all the rules and all the policies. And it is this like tension because be countercultural. I've always loved that about you. I've always loved the simplicity. That's just the relentlessness of just showing up. And,
Yeah.
I'm just hearing some people going, well, that's easy to be countercultural, but you're not corporate. You can't say these things. We
Yeah.
got HR coming over us, right? And we kind of
Yeah.
answered that a little bit, but it just brings to mind some people that, I've had conversations with that, well, we can't talk about this and we can't do that. And they almost feel muzzled. They
Mhm.
really just like there's a chokehold around them. Even some leaders that are running companies have been brought in as CEOs of corporations, and they want to lead with faith, but they just feel like there's a noose around their neck. I don't really have any other language around that, right? They're kind of muzzled. So what do you say to those men and women?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just deciding the richness and the fulfillment that you want in your life of having that completion. You know, I had a lot of fear on multiple levels. First, for me, was starting to share it publicly, and I said
Mhm.
my first commitment was I said every single Sunday I'm going to do a prayer about faith. I mean, I'm going to do a post about
Post
faith,
about
and I
faith. Yeah.
started with Sundays, and then I like slowly started like
Awesome.
expanding, and then obviously like I changed the name of my program. It used to be
Yeah.
Inevitable Millionaire. Now it's Kairos, and it's all about faith and, you know, all of those things. So, you know, I was fearful of like, what is my audience going to say? Is this, you know, is this going to play? Are people going to, you know, am I going to
Mhm.
lose a lot of business, whatever? And you just have to get to a point where it's important enough to you that you're okay with whatever
Correct.
the circumstances or situation is. So that's number one, is like you just, that's just a courage thing that
Yeah.
you just have to take the courage pill and decide that it's important enough to you to do it. And then the second thing for me was I had that same fear with doing it with my team. And I finally, just coming into the year this year, I was like, I'm doing it. And I like sent an email to my team and I was like, we're opening a prayer room every single morning,
I love that.
8:45 before miracle hour every day. It was the only change. I only announced one change coming into the year this year. I didn't roll out any new like big initiatives or changes or anything. That was the only thing I rolled out for 2025. And I was a little fearful and I was like, am I going to get pushback? Is it going to be weird?
Yeah.
I knew I had like a few believers. I cannot believe almost everyone comes. Like
That's
it's
awesome.
crazy. I
Come
just
on.
cry. I'm like, this is insane to me.
So good.
And we rotate and we take turns. So different people that are Christian that, you know, have a faith life take turns running the prayer room in the morning before work. And I can tell you, like, the
So huge.
transformation of culture, energy, positivity, inspiration. I can see in my team that they feel so much stronger and more powerful, and like
Yes.
they're more grounded, like
Yes.
they're more centered. You know, it's really inspiring to see. So
Yes.
yeah, it's, we all feel those feelings of fear. We all feel
Yeah.
those feelings of insecurity around, is there going to be backlash, or is there, and listen, there could be.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
There absolutely could be. You
Yeah.
could get fired and it could be the worst thing you think it could ever be, and it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Or you could get pushback from this person, or you could have an issue where a client leaves. When I flipped Inevitable Millionaire to Kairos, I had a few people that came and said, "Hey, you know, love you. You know, the
Yeah.
faith thing isn't for me." And I was like, "That's okay. Like, I still love you, and we're here when you're ready."
Correct. Yes, I had the same thing. You
You
talk
know,
about God too much. It's like it's okay, but I
it's
also, as
okay.
I'm hearing you talk, it's like it's almost like he's shaking. He is. I believe that the Lord has to shake that fear of man out of us. Of like, oh,
Yeah,
what will people think? Are our clients going to
yeah.
leave? He's like, are you going to lead? You know, it's that Joshua moment. Like, be bold and
That's it.
courageous. Choose this day how you will lead and who you serve, and it's
That's it.
so
And
so
that's what I
good.
picked, as I picked lead as my word of the year for that exact reason. Because I was like, all the chains are off. Like, I'm just going
It's
for it.
going.
Like, whoever is meant to go on this journey is going to come with me. And I feel like the fear of not, you know, offering this gift to the masses because
Yeah.
of a few people that might have a negative response, when you
Yes.
could help thousands and thousands and thousands of
I know.
people to be exposed or introduced to this for the very first time. It's like the payoff is so huge, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, it's so good. It's so good. I love the prayer room, and we've done that with our teams, and you're right. It's incredible. People, they're hungry. Their relationships at home
Yeah.
are thriving. Like there's such
Yeah.
a ripple effect of that. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I have yet to have anybody turn me down that says, when I say, hey, can I just bless you for a minute? I mean, I was on the phone with
Yeah.
someone else the other day and she was Jewish, and I'm like, can I just pray and bless you? And she's like, yes, please. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to turn that down? I mean, I haven't had that experience yet. I'm sure it could happen,
Yeah.
but
No, and I mean that's the thing. And like, you know, my right hand person, Nicole, who runs Kairos with me, actually is Jewish. And you know, that's the thing, is like, I think that when you have a spirit of openness and love, and you're actually in the frame of mind of like what faith really is all about,
yes,
anyone who wants to strive to grow together can unite in that.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's the spirit and the mentality that you have to have, in doing this. And actually, my very good friend, Kathy Heller, she's Jewish and she speaks a lot about her faith. And that's a huge part of who she is and her brand and all of those things. And I speak about Christianity. And we love coming together to have these conversations to show people that, like, we're all trying to
Come
pursue
on.
something bigger than ourselves, a relationship with our creator. It's all
Mm-hmm.
good. It's all
Yeah, we
good.
don't need to stand divided. There's so much
Yes.
division in our world, so much
Yes.
division. So I want to
Yes.
pivot a little bit because there are a couple things that I definitely want to tap into.
Yeah.
One of them, and I want to get to the leadership conversation of really how to lead teams powerfully. I want to get to that. But before we go there, I have to say this because I talk about it on the show all the time, is I believe that God is a God of order and process. And I've been talking so much to people about get your house in order. Like your business cannot really thrive successfully, sustainably if things at home aren't right. I know that's not something that's really been talked about in a lot of the masterminds and things that I've been part of in the past. It's always business, business, drive, grow, grow. And I don't know, something that I've really seen is that the more people put all of their heart, it's almost like the business mistress, right? This becomes everything and things start falling apart at home. I'm just seeing that there's such a correlation with when the marriage starts crumbling, a lot of things at work start crumbling. So I would like to hear from you on just, I know you would talk a lot about your
I talk
relationship
about
with
it all the
Billy.
time.
Yeah. So
I talk about it
what are
all the
your
time.
thoughts around this?
I can almost guarantee. So let me just tell you, like, so I've been talking about this a lot as well, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
with you. And I can almost tell you it's a movie where I watch a client, they're doing amazing,
Correct.
growing, 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 da 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 da. I see them fall off. I see them, kind of things aren't going well. And I go to my team and I say, hey, tell me what's going on with this person. Oh, they're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Almost like clockwork. Okay. So when you don't put first what's first, everything will get taken. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the truth. And it's a cold, hard truth, but that's why I say faith and family first, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
only one place in the world where you're irreplaceable. I don't care how big your brand is. I don't care how big your company is. I don't care how many clients you have, how many team members you have. One place you're irreplaceable, it's at home. Marriage and children. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? And your faith is everything that you're capable of doing, you're only capable of doing because of the gifts that you are given that you
Correct.
did nothing to receive. Period.
Correct. By grace. By
So,
grace.
so, but again, this is what I mean when I say about counterculture,
Yeah.
because we've been told, I'm
Mm-hmm.
great, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about like the independence and the independent
Mm-hmm.
woman and all of these things. And I'm like, nah,
No.
nah, bro. How does that work out for you? It's not working out well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm totally with you. And I think just, the pursuit of success compromising the other things in your life that matter, which mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health, never ends well.
No.
It just never ends well. Like there's not even
Yeah.
like a discussion. It's like period. And I've helped thousands of people build their businesses. I have never once seen someone growing their business, go through a divorce and thrive afterwards. I do not have a singular example, Christine, and I have helped thousands of people grow their business.
That's
I've also
awesome.
seen many, many, many. I've helped many people build 7 and 8 figure businesses. Not a one that said, oh, let me explode my growth, divorce my spouse, and keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
Not one.
Oh, that is so powerful. Not one person and thousands of people that are just head down focused on their business who's let their marriages go sideways will continue to experience the thriving.
Yeah,
I
you're
couldn't
just
agree
not.
more. I've seen the same. Not I haven't seen it with thousands, but I see it, and I want to go back and repeat what you said earlier because it's so important. When you don't put first things first, you lose everything, and that is
It's so
scriptural.
true.
That is like told like over and over and
Yeah.
over and over again. That's why I say God is a God of order and a God of process. And if we have things out of
Yeah.
order, we can do it on our own, but we will not be able to sustain it. We just can't
And
sustain it.
that's the thing, is that we have to remember, life is so tricky, right? Because you do believe that you do see the product of your work. So you do believe on a certain level, I can do it.
Yeah.
And because you see, I work hard and I can get this result. But what you forget in that moment is that everything can change in an instant.
Yes.
in a way that you never
Yes.
imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter that you might be able to physically produce the outcome that you want. It can be taken away in an instant for a reason that you never imagined, that you never could have prepared for, that you never could have prevented. And I think that's the thing that kind of gets lost. And so that's where that discernment process comes in. And that's why I referenced that book about discerning the voice of God. It's so powerful because most people live their whole lives, even if they are a person of faith, like, all right, I'm going to do this thing. All right, God, will you help me accomplish this thing? This is what I want. I just need you to like bless that shit.
Correct.
Okay,
Put that
this is what I
stamp of
said I'm going to
approval
do.
on there.
Right. Instead of saying like, reporting for duty, where are you calling me? My answer is yes. Okay,
Yeah.
you're taking me on a ride and a journey that I don't quite know how I'm going to be able to do on my own. Can you be there with me? Yes. Right? It's just it's a completely different operating mentality. And for me, being like a very driven, achieving, peak performing type person, I had to work very hard to change my own mentality to reverse the order of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
I could so relate to that.
Yeah.
It was so, that was the work that he really had to do in me, was
Yeah.
teaching me how to trust him and follow him instead of lead everything and have to be large and in charge and get up and get after it. And, and I think that there was a season for me of just really learning to just almost like, shut up, girl, sit down, be still, be quiet, and let me talk to you and learn to listen. And I needed to go through that training. And then, now it's more of the dance of learning to be in partnership and moving, and he goes and I go, and then it's a totally different thing. But it is like learning to dance together also. I think about when you learn to dance with your husband or wife, and you're just like, I'm going to lead, and you're stepping on each other's toes. And you said something really important, though. A lot of us we kind of just have this I call it old school idea of setting a vision, a trajectory, and here's what I want, and bless it. And we're just going like for the blessing, instead of going, wait a second, is this a God thing, or is this a me thing? Is this a my ego thing? Yeah, it's so good. So one of the things I loved your book, the book on leadership, and I want to talk about, again, some things that you talk about in there. Number one, well, we've already talked a lot about faith is the secret. One of your chapters is faith is the secret to success, really long term, right? And you kind of end there, but we've started there today. But I want to talk like, okay, if somebody's sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, Kelly, I have been doing it all wrong. It's all backwards. It's a total cultural mess, right? I am overworking. I'm totally a slave to my business. Like, I can't stop, or this whole thing is going to collapse.
Yeah.
Like, it's all, and I hear this all the time. Like, if I stop, the whole thing's going to collapse. I'm the one holding it all together. It's like, you talk about being the bottleneck, and you talk about getting the right people rowing in the right directions. Like, where do you tell somebody? Obviously, we started with faith, so that's probably the first thing. But where would you tell somebody to really start paying attention? Or
Yeah, I mean, and listen, you got to listen to the book. Go to Audible and go through the audiobook, because it takes you through a step-by-step building process of going from being that person that you just described, Christine. Most people that read the book or listen to the book, they're exactly what you just described. It's why I created the book, and I bring you through. It's 9 hours, so it is a process. It is not easy to go from that state that you're in right now to where you want to be, but I do help people to do it over and over again. So definitely grab a copy of Bigger Than You. But where do you even start? Well, I think the start is that you're going to make the decision that it's important enough to you to learn how to become a great leader, that you are going to invest in developing the skills that are necessary to change your situation. And I say that, Christine, because most people are not. Most people will stay in that state that you just described until either a hospitalization happens, a bankruptcy, something happens that they step away for a little bit and the business just implodes, so they end up, shutting it down. And I don't say that to be dramatic. The truth is over 80% of small businesses never exit. So that means like they just get shut down. So I'm not being like dramatic or funny or anything. I'm being deadly serious. Most people never make the decision in their lives that they're going to commit to learning how to be a great leader and being a great CEO. And it is a set of skills, and it is a change of mindset, and it is a process. And so if you start by taking away like the judgment or the shame or the fear or whatever of what your current situation is, and you just say, I am where I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to start from where I am with what I've got. And I'm not going to like judge the situation, but instead I'm going to approach the situation strategically and say, okay, what is my first step?
Mm-hmm.
And give yourself the space and the grace to actually learn how to go from being the business to building a company.
Yeah.
And having just like help in some form, whether it's contractors or assistants or whatever the case, that's not what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have multiple companies that run completely without me. I do not operate in them. I do not touch them. They don't use my face or my name. A lot of people don't even know, some of them, that I'm the person that owns them. And that is not something that happens lightly overnight because I just decided I don't want to be a part of them. That's years and years and years of working to groom and grow people, and then being able to bring them out in the world to be able to step forward and lead things that are in alignment with the vision that I have for the organization that we want to be. So assess your current situation, decide that you're committed and willing to invest the time and the energy needed to change your situation, and then start by looking at what are the constructs of what you're doing and how you're being that has created the situation that you're in. Because if you don't understand and have an awareness of whether it's control issues or safety or fear, you can't have autonomy on your team and be a fearful, controlling leader.
Oh, come on.
Those two things, they don't work together. Right? So you have to recover and let go of that, and understand that when you're dealing with humans, there are going to be issues. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be mistakes that cost you money. And a lot of times, Christine, a lot of what's holding people back from this is they're like, well, I tried that once and it didn't work out. I hired someone once. I spent all this time on them. I onboarded them and then they left. I promoted this person. I put all my eggs in their basket. I paid them so much money and they left. And they go through their whole sob story of all the things that's the reason why. And it's like, anything that you're going to do well in life, you're going to have to attempt it like over and over and over again. This is not a thing where you decide that you're ready to make this change in your business, and because you tried it once, now all of a sudden you hire the perfect person, they're doing amazing, they're running the company, you know, your hands are off. No. And so I think one of the biggest things I would say to people, Christine, is that you will many times need to go through, and this is an HR statistic, 3 to 4 people before you find like the long-term kind of perfect person that is going to be the fit for the role that you're working on. And what I would say, Christine, is that the vast majority of people never get through the reps to ever land on the right person, which is why they have their story that they tell about, well, this won't work because of this, and that won't work because of that, because maybe they did go through a few of the wrong people. Yeah. And quite frankly, and this is what I'll say, and there's whole chapters in the book on this, Christine, you heard, there's BEI interview questions, setting up your interview process. Like, I mean, I go in depth, okay? Yeah. Most of the time, even if you had hired the right person, it still wouldn't have worked because you weren't the right person. And this is what so much of the book is unraveling. It's not just the action of going and hiring people and delegating work and giving ownership. It's you growing into the person that people that work at an astounding level of excellence would want to work for.
Yes.
That takes a lot of work to become the CEO. The people that perform at that level would want to work for, that are going to stay to work for. So you could hire a unicorn and they could quit in 3 weeks because they came in and they saw your mess and they're out of there. And all of a sudden you're saying, well, I hired a great person and they lied, they cheated, they stole, they weren't the right person. Maybe. Yeah. Or maybe they came in the environment and they realized I can never succeed here. So I say all of that to say, and I feel like the book really takes you through this journey because it's the mindset, it's the tactics, it's the 6 steps, it's the pillars, it's the interview process, it's the interview questions, all of these these things, the compensation plans, we talk a ton about that. Just like everything else in life, this is a process of you becoming as much as it is a process of new behaviors that you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally, totally. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing your leadership. I mean, we always say leadership is reflection, but when you take a look around and you don't like what you see, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I attracted these people. Something about my
100%.
values or what I
Yep.
spoke resonated with these people that I attracted. And sometimes we're
Yep.
holding on to people too. I love that
Yep.
you said you only need to go through probably 3 or 4 people
Yeah.
statistically before you get to the right
It's
one.
true.
Hopefully, because you're
Yeah.
also growing and evolving
Yeah.
and you're getting
Yeah.
clear. And also, I mean, I'm thinking of those people that are holding on right now to people that they know it's
Oh my
time.
gosh.
You
I mean,
know that you would know that you know that you've got people that are very close. I'm thinking of several right now that are just, saying, oh, this person's on the executive team. They're causing all kinds of dissension in the culture, but they're holding on. We hold on. We're afraid to let go of these people.
every single day, it's one of the biggest things that I work on with my high powered leaders is like, they already knew 6 months ago. They already knew 6 months ago. And it's having the courageous conversations, and it's not holding on to what is, because the other side of what is what you don't know. What you
Yeah.
don't know is a world of possibility and opportunity that you could elevate into, but the you're the person that caps that by holding on to something that you know isn't right. And listen, it's having tough conversations. I have 6 companies. I had a leader in one of my companies coming into this year, Christine, that I said to them, I said, you've been running this company. Your job is customer acquisition. This business hasn't grown. You're not profitable. You got to stop taking a salary until you do your job. And they quit. And I was like, amen. I'm okay with that, because this person was hired to do this one thing and this one thing isn't happening. And when this person was told that you need to either do this one thing or you can't hold this spot because I need someone in this spot that can do the one thing, they said, no, thanks. I want the
Yeah.
paycheck, but I don't want the accountability. And I said, amen. Good luck. And it took 1
Yeah.
hour to transition that person out. And that business is profitable this month, the first month of the year.
Wow.
So
Tough conversation.
that's
Also being clear on what is the one thing that they are actually
exactly.
accountable for.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And it is those courageous conversations. And the Kelly of the past, with maybe less faith, would have
Yeah.
allowed that situation to go for months longer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I now have full faith and full trust that when someone is showing me who they are, not through what they say, but what they do, that I need to believe that and act on it and not be afraid, right? How many times
Yeah.
does the Bible say, do not be afraid?
Do
Do not
not
be
be
afraid.
afraid. Yeah.
Do not be afraid. Like, why do we not have crucial conversations? Fear of
Mm-hmm.
being uncomfortable, fear of what the repercussions are going to be, fear of how the person's going to respond, fear that we're not going to be able to find their replacement. It all comes back to fear. We do
Mm-hmm.
not need to be
Mm-hmm.
fearful. If that situation is presenting itself, you're being called and you are responsible and accountable for doing something about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's also that faith of knowing that next person that is going to, the right person that is in that role is
1000%.
out there and could
I
be.
will tell you, and just to bring that to your
Yeah.
point that you just said, Christine, to bring that point full circle, because of that happening, we were able to do an internal promotion for someone that deserved and gave them a huge increase,
That's
paid
awesome.
relocation, and now they're getting to grow their role in the company. And this is someone that was demonstrating the right things, the things that we
Yeah.
wanted to see. So again, you don't realize how when you rearrange the pieces on the chessboard, everything will fall into place. It doesn't mean that it's quick or easy or perfect. There's always challenges. But to your point, right?
Yeah, I just hear that all the time too. It's like, but I know I got to get rid of them, but where is the other person going to come from? So it's that fear of not knowing or having to do the workload, or where's that workload going to go, or but you did say it, maybe because my faith is stronger now, I can have those conversations with more boldness. And I didn't want to skim over that because that's so true. Like, we just know that God knows exactly what our business needs. And the other thing I see is people hiding behind that. Well, no, it's not that I'm afraid, Kelly. It's because I care so much about people and I want to keep developing. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like,
because this is
well,
what
that's not Christ-like either.
And that's bullshit. And I talk about this in the book as well, Christine, because here's the thing. No one wants to suck at their job. So when you're keeping someone in a role and they're not doing a good job at that job, not saying they're a bad person, not saying that they're intentionally doing something unethical or anything like that. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about performance.
Yeah.
It's black and white. Either the thing is getting accomplished or the thing isn't getting accomplished.
Yeah.
You keeping someone in a job where they know and you know that they're not doing the one thing, it's not good for you, but it's also not good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not holding on to them because you care about them. You're
Mm-hmm.
holding on to them because you're avoiding discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
when they move on, it's going to be better for them. And when they move on, it's going to be better for you. And that really is the truth. Like,
Yeah.
how many times have you fired someone that they have really genuinely been like heartbroken and upset
Right.
because they thought they were doing such a great job and they
Yeah.
loved it and they wanted to be there
Mm-hmm.
and they thought this was the vocation of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's not what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. When you terminate them, they're like, yeah, I understand. You know, it's very rare and usually from ego, a defense mechanism when someone responds in that way.
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to address that because there are some people that are, well, I'm here to build people up. And I'm like, okay, at what point is it a leadership problem? And at what point are we just operating from faith or from fear? Because sometimes it is a leadership problem. Maybe we weren't clear. Maybe, you know, and as you're thinking about someone making that shift and saying, I got to be the leader, that I have to be the leader, that these people want to follow, and I have to equip and empower these people. What percent, and this is maybe too broad of a question, but when you think about the average CEO that is really operating from this place, like what percentage of their time really needs to be on mentoring their people and casting vision and doing, you know, just these hard conversations versus in the work of the day to day. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I'm saying, like, the conversations I'm having with people are, you need to, you're in the business of building people now, and relationships are the thing that you have to be most focused on, building your people and clarity.
I mean, I don't know an exact percentage, but I can give you an example.
Yeah.
I'm flying someone in for 4 days next week to mentor them. The following week, I have 2 other people I'm flying in to mentor. And then the following week, I have 2 other people that I'm bringing in to mentor. They're more local, so they'll be driving in. So I'm spending full days, multiple days a month, every month, mentoring people in addition to what we're doing in the day to day every single week. You know, coaching, training, one-on-ones, all that. And I will say I have a pretty advanced team. So like what I'm doing with people is probably a fraction of what you would need to do if you're like earlier stage where you're still like really training and coaching new people. I'm not really training and coaching new people. I'm actually like, it's established people that I'm trying to elevate, like to get to higher roles, to run businesses for me and run departments and things like that. But I mean, let's put it this way. When you think about your week, I mean, certainly a day of your week, every week should be investing in elevating people. That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of give that frame of reference because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, we had our all team meeting last year and that's where we talked about vision and that's where we talked about our values and what we were doing. And then that's it. Everything else is firefighting mode. And you talk about, you know, one of the chapters is like the hell, you know, the quicksand hell of your duct tape team. And it made me think about when we run our businesses that way. It's like, well, we did an in-person training once, but there's no cadence of what is the cadence of training. And that's what I wanted to get to, is like how much of a leader's time and energy and focus really needs to be on developing the people.
It's constant. It's every day. If you want to have autonomous, self-led companies and teams where you don't do firefighting, I don't do firefighting. Like I graduated from that role. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm not looking
not a firefighter.
Please don't demote me. I graduated from that role. I don't do any firefighting in the company. And that's because I spent over 10 years, hear me, over 10 years investing, growing, pouring in, mentoring, coaching, training. I have people that have been with me for years that I have been pouring into and pouring into and pouring into. So 99.9% of the comings and goings of what's happening in any of my companies every day, they know how to handle. They've been equipped. They have been cultivated. They have the experience, the knowledge, the expertise to deal with it. And I share that because I want everyone to know when you're in it, it can feel like so overwhelming and so heavy. And it can feel like you're never going to get out of it and it's never going to get better. And that's not true, but you need to start the journey. You have to commit to starting the journey. And a great way to start the journey is just listen to the book. At least that will help you to understand what the bridge is from where you are to where you want to be. And I say this in the book multiple times, and I really do believe this to be true. Being a better leader and getting better results from your company and your team starts with your desire to be a better leader. Most people don't even have that desire, so they're not actively working towards that outcome, which means there's no improvement. So even if you do a really crappy job of implementing the things that I talk about in the book, you do it really imperfectly, it's a C- work, you're still going to see your company transform because you're making the effort to institute the things and put the practices in place and become the kind of company where great people want to work and great people can thrive, you know?
So good. I love what you said there. It starts with a desire. It starts with a desire to become a better leader. By the way, that's also true for hearing from God. It starts with a desire to actually hear, not just talk and get the stamp of approval. But, and I just wanted to circle back on that, like just to put a really good bow on that, is that if you guys don't have the desire, like pray that God would give you fresh fire of desire for your teams, for your businesses, for your industry. I mean, I recently prayed that. And I'm just going to raise my hand and say that's a dangerous prayer, but a beautiful prayer, because when you ask God for a new heart, he'll probably break your heart for some things to ignite a fresh fire so that you stop sitting around being wishy-washy and like not speaking up, and to ignite a fresh boldness. You talked about the legal battles, right? Like it ignited that season, ignited a boldness. Anyways, I know we're coming to the end, but what are you really passionate about? What are you working on? Like, what is Kelly's heart on fire for right now?
Well, I mean, my heart is just on fire for bringing the family unit, marriage, faith back into the center of culture while I help people build empires. I think that there's such a deconstruction that we need to do around the belief that you can't have it all, and you can. You can have a great family life. You can have an incredible marriage. You can run a 8-figure plus business. But you just need to keep what's first, put the things back in the order that they go in, rely on something bigger than yourself, and get wisdom from people that are living that. And I'll just kind of say that too. And like, obviously the people that listen to your show are coming to you, Christine, because they want that modeled for them, which is amazing. Just be discerning about what you're absorbing and who you're consuming from, and that what you are putting in your life and in your psyche and in your brain is of God. And I'm not saying that in like it needs to be a scripture biblical way, which I think that's great if you do, but I'm talking about like the whole gamut of what you're absorbing in. What does this person prioritize? How does this person do life? Right? How is this person showing up? Like, what is the cadence of how they speak about people and things? Like, what is the impact on your life? And just get all that toxicity out, and your pathway will accelerate massively. And I did that for myself like 5-7 years ago. And that has been really helpful for me. And I think just like clearing that space to go forward is huge. But yeah, faith and family first, build your empire. Let God do the work that he's capable of doing on your heart, and he'll pick up where you leave off.
Yes. So good. I love it because we're all on fire for this. And I just see God putting this message. And again, to something you said earlier, it's like impact or influence is for impact. If he gave you a platform, wherever industry you're in, it's not just to line our pockets or your pockets. It's to use that influence to impact lives and use the money to do good things. I mean, God knows the world needs more light houses between fires and hurricanes and political storms. Like, we can be the people who are grounded. And so I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. One last thing, if you were to just have the ability to plant a chip, this is my final question. I usually ask this. I don't always do, but I'm like, man, wisdom can either be earned the really hard way, or it can just be gained because you listened to someone. God gave you a spirit that was open and willing to say, yes, I want that belief system. I'm going to adopt that. So if you were to put a chip in somebody's head that gave them a new mental operating system or a new belief that effective immediately, they could just operate by that, what is the one belief system that you think someone needs to adopt in order to really step into great leadership
Show up
right
and
now?
serve. Show up and serve. Because I think that if you show up, meaning you get visible and your desire is to serve, I think everything else kind of falls into place. And I think that
Mm.
can be applied to our personal life, our professional life, our relationships, our teams, our businesses, our markets, every person that we interact with. Show up and serve. And I think that, again, being counterculture, it's not every day about what you get in the day. It's not the thing that you transact. It's not what you get from it. Show up and serve, and everything will flow forward from that.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Okay, guys, that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here. Thank you for sharing your gold. You guys get the book, Bigger Than You, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Building an Unstoppable Team. You can get it on Audible. I know she just put in a whole bunch of bonus content in there. It's great. And if you enjoyed this show, pass it on to someone else. Share this message, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the YouTube. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely and leading courageously. Bye for now.